Friends in the Corner podcast. Stories and topics from around the state of Kentucky. Welcome into the show, everybody. This is Dan Pauly coming to you from beautiful Lexington, Kentucky. Thank you for checking out Friends in the Corner podcast. If this is your first time listening to the show, you know you can connect with us at social media, at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. You can also subscribe to our show on a number of different listening platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. Also, be sure to email the show if you have any ideas at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together, lowercase, at gmail.com. Happy Memorial Day, everybody, and thank you for making Friends in the Corner podcast a part of your Memorial Day weekend here. We've got a beautiful interview for you set up with Mr. Khali Hill from the Oblivion Bar. I've gotten to know Khali a little bit from my previous adventures as a BCTC admissions counselor, him working in the local high schools, and now we get to come onto this new platform here and talk a little bit about content creating, talking about his new YouTube channel where he talks about DC Comics and beer. What a combo that is. But we're excited to have Khali on here today. But before we start talking about his show, we got to start celebrating a little bit about my show, if you guys wouldn't mind. The episode you are listening to right now is my 25th episode of Friends in the Corner podcast. And I am jaw-dropped just from all the encouragement, excitement, and feedback that I've gotten over the year from producing this show. So I just want to say, if this is your first time listening to my show, thank you. If you've listened to an episode of Friends in the Corner podcast in the past, thank you so much. We're going to continue to keep making great podcast episodes for you guys, and we hope you guys enjoy everything that we're doing here at Friends in the Corner podcast. The best way to help us out is to subscribe to our show on all those listening platforms, and if you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that'll help get us a long way as well. So thank you so much for your support of Friends in the Corner podcast. But guys, I'm excited to have my guest on here today, Mr. Khali Hill from the Oblivion Bar. Khali comes on here and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his passion and his love for DC Comics. He's going to tell us about some awesome places you can find DC Comics in the Lexington area. And he's also going to give his thoughts to us on the great war between Marvel and DC. So it's going to be an exciting interview. I think we should just go ahead and jump right into it. So without further ado, from the Oblivion Bar, Mr. Khali Hill. Here we go. All right. We're back at it with Friends in the Corner podcast here with my guest today, Khali Hill from the Oblivion Bar. Khali, how you doing today?
Doing great, Dan. Doing good.
Awesome, man. And just to let some people into some of the insights of content creating here. This is actually the second time we've had to do this interview in the last week. We had some technical difficulties with mics on Khali's end, but some personal difficulties on my end with the interview. Came in with a little fun products from Castle and Key last time, and by the end of it, wasn't that good. I was taking Oblivion Bar to a different meaning last time. So
Actually, I think you took it to the intended meaning.
I love it. But Khali, we're happy to have you back on here, man, and just to tell us a little bit about your new YouTube channel that you've started here, and just to tell us a little bit about what you got going on with the content you're creating. So before we jump into that, can you tell my listeners a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, like you said, my name is Khali Hill. I live here in Lexington, Kentucky. Been here for, over a year now, which is really awesome. I love it. It's home. Man, I've lived all over the place my entire life, from West Coast to East Coast, down south, up north. So now I'm here. I call it home. I work in a public high school, and I love working with the youth and impacting their lives. Heck, most of the time they're impacting my life. So that's really one of my biggest passions, is just investing in the next generation. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. 24 years old, 5'8", about 175 pounds. I feel like I'm doing like a dating interview.
It was like swipe right, swipe left.
I don't know which swipe is the right swipe, but I'm already
But
taken, unfortunately.
well, you mentioned that you work in the public school system, and there's a great little story for people who have been following my show for a while. Many people know that before I started working at Castle and Key, I was an admissions counselor for many years at BCTC, where I would actually go into the high schools here in the Fayette County area and recruit students and talk to them, counsel them, try to get them to come to BCTC, help them out with their futures beyond high school. And one of the schools that I would go into pretty frequently was actually Khali's school that he works at. And I didn't actually know Khali was just an employee there. I actually thought he was a student. So when I first met him, he was this like nice, outgoing guy that was helping me get connected around the school. And I was like, man, this is a good kid. He's going to do something with his life someday. It's great. And I gave him a flag to BCTC, and I was like eagerly recruiting him. And then on my last day going into a school before I left BCTC, I told him I was going to Castle and Key working for a distillery. And I said, hey, when you're old enough, you can come out and check out the grounds at Castle and Key. And he said, well, how old do you think I am? He's like, I'm 24 years old. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this guy I've been recruiting for the last 3 years. I was like, what have I been doing?
That just shows how oblivious I was, because I thought you were just being nice. I thought you were like, man, you could spruce up your area with this little flag here. I did not realize you were recruiting me one bit.
But I love it, man, because I'm happy because it's led to this point here where you can be on my show, and I'm happy to talk about yours here as well. So we can start diving into it here. So you and some of your friends have started a show called the Oblivion Bar, which has been referred to as a safe haven for DC comic fans. So can you just tell us a little bit about your channel and what you guys are doing with the content you're making?
Yeah, so it is just that. Well, I guess it's more than that. So we started the Oblivion Bar because, a few of my buddies and I, we love DC Comics. We're big nerds, obviously. So we just wanted a place that we could come together and talk about what we love about these comics and hopefully get other people in on the conversation. So my buddy Joe and I, we really came up with, I guess, the theme and the basis of it. I'm a big fan of the Justice League Dark series, and there's this place in that series called the Oblivion Bar. So it's actually a magical bar in a pocket dimension of the DC universe. And I thought about that. I was like, man, that is really awesome. So that name just stuck with me, and I decided, hey, man, what about we start a YouTube channel called The Oblivion Bar, a safe haven for DC comic fans, because in the comics, they also use it as a safe place during times of crisis. But anyway, he's like, yes, let's do that, but let's include beer in it. Let's just drink or whatever. So, and that we were just like, yes, that's it. And from there, we got our buddies Ethan and Robbie to jump in with us as well, and we just started doing this thing. And we've had a lot of brilliant ideas since coming up with the basic formula for the channel, and we're just excited to see how it grows.
Yeah, that's awesome. And awesome to see where you guys just saw this niche and saw this idea and saw what you were loving and wanting to start creating content around that. And hopefully one of the nice things that the century we're in right now is we can do stuff like this. We can start podcasts and we can start YouTube channels and connect with people in a way that probably has never been able to be done before. And I think that's something awesome. Definitely even interested to see that you focus specifically on DC Comics. So tell me a little bit, Clay, what is it that is special to you about DC and the comics that they produce?
Well, DC Comics were that was the first comics that I was introduced to as a young kid. So I always just felt like I could relate with those characters. Namely, the first hero that I ever connected with was Shazam, who was formerly known as Captain Marvel. Growing up,
some
myself,
red tape there, I'm sure.
Say what?
Some red tape there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was really taken aback by this character, this little kid who, grew up without his parents around and whatnot because he was a foster kid, and he was given these powers by this wizard, which already sounds awesome. And, he becomes a an adult superhero when he shouts Shazam. And I could relate with that because I grew up without my parents around, and it really showed me that, man, there's still something super about me, even though I've had some unfortunate things happen in my life. But it really changed my life. Honestly, it did. It helped me see myself differently, and my situations differently. And then from there, I just got hooked on all these other fantastic stories from Batman, Superman, The Flash, Green Lantern, and all that. I've just always really connected with their characters. Love Marvel. I like reading their stuff from time to time. It's just DC is where I always find myself coming back to.
And that's awesome to hear, and just kind of hear your connection to DC Comics and what the characters meant to you. And you kind of touched on there is something I wanted to also get into, because nowadays here in 2019, DC is still popular, but you have to admit that when it comes to the realm of comic book lore, it's dominated by Marvel, at least on the mainstream part of it. All over as, I mean, Endgames just came out a few weeks ago. I mean, the Marvel MCU has been, kicking ass for the better part of 11 years now.
Yeah.
Netflix shows, all that stuff. So what are your feelings in more detail here about Marvel compared to DC?
Well, like I said, I love Marvel. I respect the hell out of what Marvel has done with their cinematic universe. I'm a huge fan of it. I've watched every single movie, and I was there opening night for Endgame, and I bawled like a baby with all the other grown men in that theater. But yeah, my personal thoughts are, yes, Marvel is crushing it on the big screen with their cinematography. They're doing very great things on the small screen, whether it's Netflix or on different TV stations. They're doing really, really cool things. DC has just only begun to, put out some really stellar movies, in my opinion. The first DC extended universe, which is what they call their cinematic universe. The first DCEU movie that I saw and really liked was Aquaman. I mean, a lot of people loved Wonder Woman. I liked Wonder Woman, didn't love it, but Aquaman I absolutely loved. And then I watched Shazam a few weeks before it came out, and I absolutely loved that movie. I thought it did the comic books justice. It was great. Really, what it comes down to for me is that all of these things, whether it's Marvel or DC, they're getting FaceTime. They're getting the characters out there and the storylines out there, and it's making people get interested in them. They're like, man, I want to read more about Thor, or I want to read more about Aquaman now, or Shazam. And for me, I just see it as, man, no matter who puts it out, as long as it's out there, it's just driving more into this comic book industry that I love. And it's really just shown me that there's no better time to be a comic book fan. Like, we're living in this golden age where comic books are such a huge staple in pop culture. So no matter who you are, your grandparents even, they know who Superman and Batman is. They've probably heard of Endgame. It's such a huge movie. So it's just really cool to be a part of it all and to be a comic book fan during this time. I think Marvel does a great job at adding to that. On the other side, DC does a phenomenal job with their animation, and I actually love a lot of their TV shows. They just launched their DC Universe streaming service last year, and I've watched Titans on there, and I really liked it. I've been watching Doom Patrol, and it is one of the best superhero TV shows, live action TV shows that I've watched. It's every episode just is better than the last, and they're coming out with Swamp Thing at the end of May. It's gonna be great. So,
what's Swamp Thing?
Oh man, so Swamp Thing is basically this guy named Alec Moore. No, I'm getting getting it wrong. Alec Holland. There we go. Alec Holland. He basically is turned into the avatar of the green, and the green is basically everything that deals with plant life and all that stuff all over the world. So he's the protector of the green, essentially, and he looks like exactly how he sounds, this big viney plant monster looking person, and he can control all plant life, and he can control plant life out in California at the same time that he's controlling plant life in like Japan or something. It's really cool, but his series is going to be, sounds like it's going to be really dark and edgy, which his storylines typically are as well. So I'm really excited to see that brought to life. I've seen a lot of pictures and a lot of previews for it, so I can't wait for it to come out.
Well, that's interesting to learn a little bit more here about Swamp Thing here. Definitely as a character I'm not very familiar with, but that's what's kind of cool is that there's just so many different characters, and both Marvel, DC, and I'm sure there are many other extensions of different comics that are out there too that aren't part of them that just have so many characters that are just fascinating to follow. For you, Khali, specifically, I know you mentioned Shazam here, but who would you say are your top 5 favorite characters in the DC universe of all time?
All right. Top 5. All right. Starting at number 5, I'd have to say the Flash. And specifically Barry Allen Flash. He's the Flash that I grew up with. And I have always loved reading his stories. I'm glad that they brought him back into the comics years ago. But yeah, I'd have to go with him. And then my number 4 choice would have to be not just one character, but a whole group, the Teen Titans. Absolutely love the Teen Titans. I mean, you've seen the TV show, right? Like
I saw the
Cartoon Network one
and the bad one.
Oh gosh,
but definitely good. My girlfriend is a diehard Teen Titans fan too. So Beast Boy, I think, is probably her favorite character of all time.
Actually, yeah, Beast Boy, out of that set of the Teen Titans from the TV show, Beast Boy was always my favorite of the team. So yeah, absolutely love the Teen Titans and all their variations of the group. Number 3 would have to be Green Lantern, because the Green Lantern is just stinking awesome. I mean, you have this guy who has a ring that can pretty much manifest anything that he imagines. So as a kid reading that, I was always just thinking, what would I do if I had a power ring and I could just imagine whatever and bring it into existence? So I think that's super powerful. I've always loved his character, and I just love the diversity of that they bring with the character, because there's not just one Green Lantern, there's many of them. So
yeah, you know, I was about to say I haven't watched a whole lot of the different animation movies that DC's done, but one of the ones I did watch I loved was they had one about the Green Lantern Corps where they like introduced all these different Green Lanterns. I thought, wow, this is really cool. It goes beyond just this one character, beyond Hal Jordan or John Stewart or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's the really cool thing about comic books, is that certain writers will come in and reimagine the mythos of a character. So my favorite author, Jeff Johns, he actually got hold of the Green Lantern storyline and just expanded on the Green Lantern mythos, and I've been hooked on him ever since he wrote that book. So but my number 2 would have to be Dr. Fate. He's just incredibly powerful and a really cool character. I'm a big sucker for any magic users because I've always read fantasy books growing up. So
who is Dr. Fate, if you can go into detail about his lore?
Yeah, so Dr. Fate he's actually this guy named Kent Nelson who puts on this helmet, which is the helmet of fate. And when he puts it on, the inhabitor of it is this Lord of Order named Naboo. And basically, whoever dons the helmet of fate, Naboo will, turn them into Dr. Fate and will give them all of his powers, and they'll act as an agent on his behalf. So it's almost like he basically a god puts on human flesh, I guess is what I would say. And we haven't seen that before.
He kind of has this Thor meets Doctor Strange type of vibe to me.
Yeah, so I would say Doctor Strange is definitely the Marvel equivalent to him. The essential differences between Dr. Fate and Doctor Strange is that
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah. No, he's awesome. Love his acting as Doctor Strange. But yeah, Doctor Strange, he puts on these different relics and artifacts, and he gets his powers from these magical gods as well, called the Vishanti. So he's essentially given powers of a god, but he doesn't become a god. He like kind of just wears their stuff, whereas Dr. Fate kind of becomes that guy. He becomes a god. So that's where the two differences are, but both amazing characters. Dr. Fate is on my list at number 2, and number 1 is a no-brainer, Shazam. He is my all-time favorite, always will be. That character changed my life, and started my love of comic books. And he's also, his lore is very intertwined in magic as well. So again, he's just kind of all around the best kind of character for me.
That's awesome. And those are definitely some interesting characters to check out. Some pretty, I think, are part of pretty common knowledge today, like the Flash and Teen Titans and stuff like that. Some, for people who probably didn't know who Shazam was, they probably do now because of the movie that just came out here. And I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've heard good things about it. I was just actually reading something today. The actor who played Shazam, not the kid, but the superhero Shazam, the actor.
Yeah, Zachary Levi.
Yeah, Zachary Levi. So apparently he tried out, auditioned to play Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy before Chris Pratt got the role. Obviously, he was turned down from that, and it was they kind of talk about his kind of like a rise to fame because he was struggling for so many years until, you know, stuff like Shazam finally fell into his lap and he was able to go out there and crush it. So definitely a very inspiring story, I think. See.
Yeah, no, I actually, I know a lot of people say they've known him from, like, what's that show, Doug or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really watched him in much of anything until Shazam, but I think that they casted that, not only that role, but all of the roles in the movie very, very, very well. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it because it's fun. It's got action. It has a little edge to it, but also it just has some very real moments that tug at the heartstrings as well. It was a different flavor of movie than what we've previously gotten over the years from DC, and it was refreshing. So
it's better than Justice League, though, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. We won't talk about the travesty that is, you know, the live action Justice League movie. I watched it once and I regretted it. It's just not it wasn't for me. I don't think they need to try to do what Marvel's doing and do it better, meaning I don't think they need their own cinematic universe, in my personal opinion. I'm okay with them just coming out with really awesome, you know, solo hero movies, and, you know, it doesn't have to lead into the next unrelated film, you know, just because how Marvel's like, okay, well, here's Endgame and it's about to go into Spider-Man, or here's Captain Marvel and it's about to go into Endgame. Like,
it almost feels like you got to watch each one along the way. That's how the MCU's felt for me for literally since the first Iron Man. It's like, oh, Iron Man's on, now the Avengers is coming.
Yeah, and it is like that, and Marvel set that precedence, and I think it's a trap for someone else to come along and try to do that, follow that same, you know, outline. I really enjoyed Shazam, and I loved how they included little nuggets of, okay, Superman and Batman and Aquaman and these other heroes do exist in this world, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be in the movie and be crossed over with them. If they do successfully start crossing heroes over, of course I'm going to be excited. That would be awesome. But Marvel spent years really building that up. Marvel did it very masterfully, and it took time. It was, 10 years of time that went by, and I think DC just rushed it with the whole Batman v Superman and Justice League thing. It wasn't well done. So I just say, hey, put out, DC, if you're listening, please just put out really awesome solo hero movies. Don't worry about crossing it over. You don't have to be Marvel to win my love. You've already gotten that.
Khali, what other content providers, or what YouTube series or podcast inspired you to start the Oblivion Bar?
Really, there's a good number of content creators out there that I've always loved listening to. It was just awesome to sit down and flip through YouTube or listen to different podcasts of people talking about the very thing that I'm most passionate about. And it got to the point where I was watching and listening so much, and I'm like, man, I need to start doing. There's so much that I could do with my ideas or my thoughts. So it really started with the grandfather of comic book content on YouTube, which is Variant Comics. That's the channel, and it's the host is Aris Quinones. But this guy has top-notch production. He talks about all things comics. He puts out regular content, and I've been watching this stuff for years, and it is awesome. He'll do comic books, movie reviews, TV channels, whatever, or TV shows, or anything relating to comics, and even things that are just outright nerddom. So I love his stuff. And then Comics Explained by Jeff Robertson, or Rob Jefferson. Sorry, Rob Jefferson. He's actually from Kentucky, or at least he went to UK. And he has a huge YouTube channel as well. And the dude has an amazing voice. You just sit and you listen to him talk, and his channel is just him going on rants about certain themes or storylines or characters or theories or whatever. And he has a phenomenal channel. But what really put me over the edge to make me think, man, I can make my own content. I was listening to a podcast, and it's called the DC Comics Squadcast, and they're part of Squadcast Media.
Corner.
Oh yeah, you came along later in there. I was getting to that.
What was it called one more time?
The DC Comics Squadcast. They're part of Squadcast Media. It's these two guys. You have Chris Rimmer and Jordan Funk, and they just go every week. They will tell you what their thoughts are on the books that were released that week, because comic books come out every Wednesday. That's New Comic Book Day, if you didn't know. So you'll see
Mark your calendars, everybody. Every Wednesday?
Yeah. Every Wednesday, new books come out, and you'll see it on social media as hashtag NCBD, New Comic Book Day. But yeah, these guys were on there just talking about comics, and in a very simple way, in a way that that made me always want to come back and listen to their content. And I'm like, man, I should just do this. So that's kind of when I came up to my buddy Joe, and also my boyfriend. I just sat down and talked with them and said, why don't we start a podcast? And then the idea of a podcast turned to a YouTube channel, because our producer, which is my boyfriend, he edits and creates video for a living. So the reason it looks so good is because he's the one that's doing it, because he's a pro.
Professional.
Yes.
way to date up, man. Way to go. I tell Catherine every day, he's like, you are the talent in this relationship.
Oh yeah. I think earlier I accidentally said I'm dating someone, unfortunately, and I totally didn't mean to say it in that way, but I hope people understood what I meant. But no, babe, when you listen to this, I love you. Anyway, but yeah, those would be the people that really, the content creators that really inspired me to go after it. Also, my buddy Joe Ryan from Joe Ryan Comics, I started watching his stuff not too long ago, and he and I've connected, and he's really just been a great friend to have through the process of starting a channel. I think at this point he has over 2,300 subscribers. He's been going hard at it since August, and his channel has been experiencing a lot of good growth. But he's been a good friend of mine that's just been inspiring me to keep it going, and to, how to keep it going. So
that's awesome to hear, man. So definitely content creating can be one of the most fun, challenging, taunting, stressful, and yet enjoyable and rewarding things, as I can say from doing my show, man. So I definitely encourage you guys to keep going, keep pushing, surround yourself, put friends in your corner, for a lack of better terms here, man, because it definitely, even when it seems like it's hard, or you don't know what to make a video about or make content about, always pushing forward and always putting something out there just helps so much. So really cool to hear, man. You dropped a little bit of knowledge on us here, telling us about Wednesdays. However, those are new book Wednesdays. What'd you call it?
New Comic Book Day.
New Comic Book Day.
NCBD. Yeah.
NCBD. Hashtag NCBD, everybody. But that's the other thing I want to ask you. So I think for a lot of people, maybe even now, just because of the nature of the time we're living in, stuff like that, a lot of people probably don't know what's the best way to come across finding comics. Do you go to your mom and pop store still? Do you do a subscription service like you would like Amazon or Netflix? You talked about new releases and stuff like that. So what is the best way to obtain comics that you found? And in Lexington specifically, are there comic book stores or other services that you recommend for people to go to?
So I always recommend going to your local comic shop, which is your LCS. Again, hashtag LCS. Remember that. But yeah, support the local businesses, support your local comic shop. And these people don't just sit in a room full of comics all day and not know anything about it. Like, most of them are experts on this. So if you're interested in getting into the world of comics, I know it can feel daunting because, like, oh my gosh, there's comics from the 20s or 30s or whatever. Just go to a local comic shop, take a deep breath, not necessarily in that order, but go up to the front counter and just say, hey, I'm new to comics. Where should I start? They'll probably start by asking you, well, who's your favorite superhero or who's your favorite character? And you can just tell them, like you say, Shazam, that's my favorite character. Or I just saw this movie and I really want to know more about this character. And they should be able to point you right to some of, some of the best storylines to get you started on knowing more about them. So I would personally go that route. Now, you can also do online research if you just want to, if you're all about buying and shopping online, that's also available. Heck, in our YouTube videos, in the description below the video, we always include where you can purchase the books online. In the description, you can just click on the link and it'll take you right to it, digital or hardback. And it'll take you right to that. So I recommend going to a local comic store, and I recommend, just starting with who it is that you like, whoever you're interested in.
And so for those of us here in the Lexington area, is there a store that you recommend?
Oh, definitely. Heroes Realm. Hands down, Heroes Realm is my local comic shop, and they are phenomenal. They take care of us, whatever we need. They seek to do it, and they're just so friendly. It's actually ran by a husband and wife, Stephen and Beth, and they are just phenomenal people. They're always friendly when you come in. Man, a few weeks ago, was Free Comic Book Day, and Stephen was just like a kid in a candy factory on that day because it's a big event everywhere. So at different local comic stores, they have their special deals going on. There's a table full of free comic books. They had a band there. They had a local podcast called the Parlapod, who also is a comic book content creator. They were there doing a live episode, and then there were all kinds of cosplayers and artists and just all kinds of people there. It's an awesome event to see comic book lovers, young and old, all enjoying a day at a comic shop. So Heroes Realm is what I'm getting at. They're awesome. You should check them out.
Awesome. And I just looked up their address here for anyone in Lexington that wants to check them out. They're at 1624 Old Paris Road in Lexington, kind of close to where I live, actually, off North Broadway there. Oh, wait. No, they're on the other side of town, actually, I think.
I live off of North Broadway.
So that's how you found Heroes Realm.
Yeah, we got to figure out where we live after this.
What's your? Oh, actually, no. So you're closer to downtown. I'm actually on the other side. So let me just give my address away here live on the internet here. No worries. So,
hey, you got to get fans some way.
All right, come on down to. I know we've talked here a lot about DC Comics, but you've talked about how that's just one thing that you guys talk about on the show. That the other thing that you guys talk about is beer. And
Hmm.
when we recorded this previously in our first attempt where mics weren't working and Dan's mouth wasn't working with all the bourbon going in it. But I asked you what your favorite beer is, and you gave me kind of an interesting answer. So what tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, so funny thing is, I actually don't drink, never have. And it's just my personal preference. But I have three other guys on the show, luckily, that love beer, and they carry out the beer review on the channel. So part of the way through our video, there will always be some kind of beer review, and it's usually a craft beer of some sort that is in some way related to the comic book content that we're talking about. So in our first video on Shazam, the Shazam and his family end up going to this place called the Funlands, and it's this giant, just it looks exactly what it sounds like, just attractions and rides and candy and food and everything sweet there, and creepy little clowns running around as well. But anyway, the first beer we covered on our first episode was the Vanilla Cream Ale by Lexington Brewing Company, and we just try to get something sweet that related to the comic book content. But yeah, I don't drink, so that's why on every episode you'll see me drinking a glass of orange juice happily. I don't knock people for drinking. Honestly, I think it's very appropriate for certain situations. So, and we encourage you to drink responsibly and legally. So, yeah.
That's awesome to hear. Is like you don't drink, but you have a show that does talk about drinking. So I applaud you, sir. That is you working around the system and still making great content. So then let's talk here. What's your favorite orange juice that you buy? What's your go-to orange juice that you're going to buy at your local Kroger?
Man, I get Simply Orange. I get really, usually I just get Simply Orange. Does Sunny D count as orange juice? Because man, I don't care how old you get, Sunny D hits every time.
Oh, I count it. I enjoy a little Sunny D. It was a hot day today. I could have used some Sunny D outside. So.
Oh yeah, I mean it's about to be 90 degrees tomorrow, man. That's crazy. It's May, but yeah, no, I love me some Sunny D, and so, really, I just like orange juice that isn't full of pulp. I don't need all the orange guts in my orange juice. I mean, it doesn't add anything to it for me.
Now, how do you feel? And I don't know the name of the actual brand, but the frozen orange juice and the frozen now that you get, is that a no go? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it frozen and then you unthaw it? No, I don't think. It's like an orange juice pop. Like
yeah, have you never seen those? Like it comes in like a little can, and go to Kroger next time, you'll find it. It's like a orange juice, but it's in like a little can, like you get your Pillsbury biscuits in. Then you break it, put it in a pitcher, and pour like water and stuff in it, and boom, you got like an orange juice, a concentrated orange juice.
That sounds like a very complicated way to drink orange juice.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So we used to have those in as a kid. Happy to hear that you've got this beer review going on. I'm sure we'll get to hear you review a few orange juices on the show as well. I'm excited when you guys review Cougar Bait on the show. I'm excited to see which character relates to that in the DC universe.
We'll figure out something. We'll try to slide it in there somewhere.
I admire you. Who's like an older woman in the DC universe that hits on younger men?
Older woman that hits on younger men in the DC universe. Now, I was not expecting this question. There is
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy's. One, I love both of those characters, but they don't really. They're not, I wouldn't consider them that much. They never look that old. There is so. I feel like there was a storyline where it kind of looks into Batman's future and everything, and you get an old Catwoman in that storyline. She's older but still Catwoman, and I'm pretty sure she makes like some kind of sexual or innuendo joke towards a young whippersnapper. Don't quote me on that, but I vaguely remember reading that somewhere along the line, but I don't think there's just I'll have to come back to you with that. But I don't know if there's just someone that's labeled as the cougar of the DC universe. And the drink's called Cougar Bait. So you got to find someone who's going after cougars.
Right. I'm sure there's something, but we'll for the time being, we'll put a little asterisk in there. Old Catwoman, Country Boy, Cougar Bait. Future episode of the Oblivion Bar coming to us. Can't wait for that. If you need a guest assistant on that show, I'd be happy to help you, man.
Oh, yeah, man.
Khali, it's been a pleasure having you on here, man. Before we get ready to wrap things up, I just want to give this time to you, man. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where we can find you guys?
Yeah, so you can find us on YouTube. Our show is called The Oblivion Bar, obviously, but if you go to youtube.com/Bar Oblivion, BAROBLIVION, it'll take you right to our channel. Also, we're on social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Our handle is @Bar Oblivion, so you can find us there. We're posting quite regularly and engaging with folks as much as we can, as much as people want to talk to us. And yeah, we have some really special content coming up. We're kicking off June with, since it's Pride Month, we're going to cover LGBTQ plus characters in the DC universe. So every Wednesday, the books that we review will be based on an LGBTQ plus character. And we're also getting into making content that gets us out into the community and interviewing, real life superheroes, people that are doing amazing things or following their passions, but helping the world around them, helping their community. So that's pretty much what we have coming, and we're super, super excited for it.
Awesome, man. Well, good stuff to hear. I'm excited to see where the Oblivion Bar goes, all the content you guys are creating. Hopefully we'll get to collab a little bit more here. I'm definitely still open for the idea of doing the Cougar Bait episode. Just throwing that out there to you. I can't wait.
Dude, I will not forget you. We will make that happen somehow.
Yes. Friends in the Corner, Oblivion Bar, crossover. We're going to, it'll be great. But all right, Khali, thank you so much for coming on, man. We'll try to have you on again. Until next time, my brother.
Sweet. Thanks, Dan. Good talking with you.
All right, and that's it for our interview of Khali Hill from the Oblivion Bar. Thank you, Khali, for coming on and sharing us a little bit about your new YouTube channel, what you guys going on. Talked about Marvel, DC, talked about beer, talked about orange juice, all the good stuff right there. But listen, you should go and support those guys and check out their show. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @Bar Oblivion. That's Bar Oblivion. You can check out their YouTube channel. The link will be in my description below. They release episodes every Wednesday. And be sure, while you're already checking them out on social media, to follow us on social media as well. We are at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram there. You can also subscribe to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube as well. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and be sure to email the show at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together lowercase, @gmail.com. Thank you guys for tuning in to this beautiful Memorial Day episode of Friends in the Corner podcast. Come back again for another episode in a few weeks here, and we'll see you then. That's a wrap.